Hello, welcome to this episode of the podcast, Lip with Japa. My name is Sahid Adepoju. See, H-1B has come under fire, and much of the criticism misses the mark, I think. Today, my aim is to break down my thoughts around what is going on and to give you insight about the H-1Bs in the, I don't know what happened. I have the Liquid Japa podcast link in the description below. That's liquidjapa.io, and I hope you would visit that. I also have a bunch of previous episodes I've done from 2024 that covers a lot as an international student. So like I said, I used to be an international student. I came in as an international student in 2015. I got my citizenship last month, and I feel that I owe everyone else some insight into the current debate around the H-1B. So, when you typically hear about the H-1B, what comes to mind? Typically, is it a lifeline for innovation for the US, or is it a job theft? Lately, there's been a lot of debate about H-1B visa holders stealing American jobs, and on the other hand, you hear from the corporations, the big tech corporations, the big boys, who say that, oh, we don't have enough H-1B visa holders. We want the brightest and the smartest to come in on these visas. Both things are true, or can be true, but that's the aim of this video. The aim of this video is to break it down. So I'm still getting used to video format, so this is my first time. So I've got lots of my analysis all around me, so I might glance away, but here we go. So one of the things that you need to understand about the H-1B was it was set up as an act of Congress. It's the law of the land. So it's not going anywhere unless the law of the land changes. And what do I mean? Before it became legal, the House of Reps had to write a version of a bill. It was a bill passed in 1990. I believe it was under Bill Clinton or Bush Sr. So what happened was a version of that bill was written in the House of Reps. A version of that bill was written in the Senate. And then they had to reconcile, and then they had to, get the bill to the president for him to sign. So it is an act of Congress. It is not something that is going anywhere soon. Before you can repeal it, or before you can, eliminate the H, you have to get the House of Reps to write a version of a new bill to repeal it. You have to get the Senate to write that as well. And then you have to write the reconciliation between both of them, and then you have to pass it. And good luck doing that in today's Congress. It's not going to happen. So the H-1B is here to stay. But what exactly is it? So the H-1B, the original intention was to fill specialized skills, was to fill the roles requiring specialized skills that the US industries could not find at the time. That was the whole point. So what it was doing for the US in the 90s was they had a lot of openings, a lot of tech openings, a lot of engineering openings, and they sought to open up a scheme that would allow people to apply, that will allow companies to apply on behalf of talents that they have found. And what they had to show was there were no US citizens that could do these jobs. So they had to file a prevailing wage determination. So there are sequential steps to file for the H-1B. You first of all have to file a prevailing wage determination. What that means is that for the location you're hiring for and for the role you're hiring for, there are specific job codes and there are specific salaries. So you have to show that this is a specialized role. The key thing is specialization. So that was what birthed this. And over time, it's become a great route to get people to come into the US to work. Currently, there are 85,000 slots that are opened up every year. 65,000 of those numbers are meant for bachelor degree holders, so minimum requirements, bachelor's degree. 20,000 is reserved for graduates of US schools. So you have international students that come into the US to graduate, and what they're trying to do is to encourage that, hey, if you come to school here, you have 20,000 slots that you can use to get a job. The process is you finish your grad program, you apply to a company, the company files for you, and then you get the H-1B, and then you work with them for 3 years. So the H-1B typically is for a maximum of 6 years. You cannot go beyond 6 years, but there is a caveat to that. You can go beyond 6 years as long as you have an approved I-140, but that's beyond this. That's not the intention of this. The intention of this is to talk about what exactly is going on, why the huge uproar about H-1Bs. Now, what has happened is America has used this to stay ahead of the competition. So they bring in the bright and the younger, the bright and the smartest to get ahead. But what has happened over time is that American corporations saw an opportunity to optimize their costs. So if you had people that were working in, say, the banking industry, for example, that had an employee taking home, let's say for sake of argument, $100K a month, $100K a year rather, and they also had benefits. They had healthcare, they had, a bunch of all these things. What happened was the companies realized that, hey, I could bring in someone from outside to do the same job for $80,000. Now, remember I said that they had to pay prevailing wage. So let's say, for example, the prevailing wage for that area was $75,000 per year. The companies could easily do that. They could easily bring in the 75K person and get rid of the 100K person because they were trying to save cost. The goal of the business is to make profits. So if profits is the main driver, that's what they would do. Is it legally allowed? Of course it's legally allowed. Is it ethically right? Well, that's left to everybody. It's America. Everyone wants to make money. I'm not here to debate the ethics. I'm just here to explain what is going on. So over time, what happened was companies saw the opportunity to use this to replace some part of the labor force. Well, what that does it kind of makes people upset because this is the job that I've always wanted. Now, all of a sudden, because you're allowed by law to do this, you're kicking me off. They were doing this. So how did we get here? How did it get to the point where you had to employ someone from outside and not take people from within? It had to do with the prioritization of bachelor degree holders. That's where I feel. Again, remember this episode is to outline my thoughts behind this. These are my own opinions. You might not accept it, but this is, again, everyone has one. But right now, what is going on is people are complaining that you're replacing U.S. workers, you're replacing green card holders. But at the core of it is the prioritization of bachelor degree holders. They often overlook U.S. workers who do not probably have a bachelor's degree because the cost of earning a bachelor's degree is too high. So I did some quick insights to see the growth of the cost of living, changes in salary, the cost of education, and the cost of an associate's degree. As you can see on the chart on your screen, what you have is that the cost of living has gone considerably up since World War II, but the cost of the bachelor's degree is exponentially very high. It's almost prohibitive that someone who might want to otherwise go to college will not be able to go. I then did another plot about the plot of associate's degree. Associate's degree are cheaper compared to bachelor's. You can get an associate's degree in 2 years. That, I think, is the biggest problem and the biggest opportunity at the same time. U.S. corporations can fill the positions that they have in the organizations, entry-level positions, with associate's degree. So what is the specialty occupation? What do you need? What do you do at these corporations that associate's degree holders cannot do? I used to be in the semiconductor industry. I have worked in the semiconductor industry. What are the things that they do over there? They do software testing. They do some form of network support. They do some form of, different activities at the entry level. Most of all those tasks can be done with an associate's degree. You might not need a bachelor's degree to do that. So, looking through what I have here, most of the things that will fix this problem is a reprioritization and a reassessment of what the requirements are for the job. Occupations almost always list bachelor's degree as a minimum qualification. Why? The idea is that the deeper theoretical and technical training provided by a four-year program is necessary. But that's not always true. Entry-level roles like software support, network administration, quality assurance can be done on the job. You can be trained to do that. You don't learn most of these practical things in a theoretical system. Most people come into the system and they are taught the ways of the company. So the question is, why don't US corporations concentrate on hiring entry-level roles as associate degree roles? What that does is the people in the pipeline no longer need to complain that I don't have a job. It also solves the problem of the cost of getting a bachelor's degree. So the cost of a bachelor's degree is high. The cost of an associate's degree is not as high. The entry-level roles can be given to the associates. So if you have, different companies have different grade levels. So I'll use what they use in the software industry, IC, IC1, IC2, IC3. You can mandate that all IC1s will be associates. You bring in every associate at IC1. If they choose to go to school when they get into work, that's a prerogative. But they can also move up the ranks using their experience. Because in the industry, you move up the ranks by how much experience you have. Which is why you will see things like a master's graduate that has 3 years of experience is equivalent to a fresh person out of a PhD program. So the same thing, if you have an associate's degree that has 2 years of work experience, let that be equal to a bachelor's and let them pay you accordingly. And the associate's person can rise in the company with the experience because that is how it's currently done. You don't need to have a degree to move up the ranks. You just need to have the experience to move up the ranks. So why not just do that? Now, what do we then do with the H-1B? If you hire every entry level as associates, what do you then do? My suggestion is very simple. You can simply invert numbers currently. So 65,000 number of the H-1B in the H-1B visa lottery currently, they are allocated to bachelors and they're allocated to masters. So what they do is every year, the number of people that apply is more than the 85,000. So they have to do a lottery. They do a lottery 2 times. The first set of lottery is done at the 65,000 level. So everybody that went to school as a master's degree holder, plus people that apply from outside the country are put in one pool and the lottery is done. When that is done, they then do the 20,000 one for the US. So people that have their master's degree from the US that don't get selected in the first round get another opportunity to be selected in the second round. Most of the bone of contention of what is going on right now is that the bulk of the 65,000 is going to only a set of consulting companies. Those consulting companies are then taking those people and sending them to US corporations. And then that's where the problem is. The number that is being given to the consulting companies is too much. It is best to allocate only 20,000 of those numbers to the consulting companies. Allow international students who have come here to study be given the band of 65,000. And anybody that gets the likes of the Google, the Apple, the Amazons, they also want the numbers. The reason why they keep talking about increasing the numbers is because they're not getting the number of people that they need. So think about it. If the 65,000 block is going to bachelor degree holders, and the consulting companies, when I mean consulting companies, mostly Indian consulting companies, those companies are taking the bulk of the H-1B. That number is bringing in people from outside, and those people, you can't blame them because they want a better life. Everyone deserves a better life. The consulting companies are then using those numbers to bring in people. Now, most of these people do not know how the system here works. They're very excited about being here. When they get here and they start working, they then realize that I'm being shortchanged. They go to school and then they try to get better jobs, and they deserve to get better jobs. So what should happen? Make the 65,000 list, the 65,000 number that is currently used for bachelors, make it the master's cap. Keep the 20,000 for everyone else that wants to come in from outside, plus people that are here. If you do it that way, the 20,000 will still be coming in, but won't be as much as the 65,000 right now. Secondly, the entry-level roles would go to only the associate's degree holders that are already here. So you can give those entry levels to the associate's degree holders. Then what you have is that the 65,000 can go with the minimum requirement for that will be strictly that you have to have a master's degree from the US, and only American companies would benefit from the 65,000. So the Amazons and the Googles will get the numbers that they need, that they've been clamoring for and they've been screaming for. They would get their numbers. Then the 20,000 will still be there because you cannot change the law. You can't change the law. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it is very possible that it's the law that mandates that it must be 65,000 bachelors. I'm sure they can always adjust that. But if you're going to talk about removing the whole thing, I don't think it's going to be possible. Now, another thing is the rising costs of education in the US. It's prohibitive. And over the last several decades, the price of earning one has become very, very difficult. In the 70s, tuition over a 4-year period was a fraction of what it is today. So you had people that went to Stanford and Harvard and UC Berkeley in the 70s. They paid peanuts compared to what we have today. So that is what I think should happen. And also getting entry level to the associate's degree, what it helps to do is it kind of gives the corporations and the colleges a synergy. Now corporations can decide to invest in local community colleges because there are community colleges all over the nation. You don't have to go to, a top school. If you had a semiconductor industry say, hey, you know what? We want to talk to college XYZ. We want to bring in your associate's degree holders in data analytics or in cybersecurity. We want to bring them in, and then you get them in and then you train them. What that does is that once they get into the workforce, they can decide to go and finish up their 4-year degree programs. What that does is that they have money in their pocket. They don't have to take loans, which means that they don't have to have a particular salary expectation at the end of the day, and helps with the cost of education. The H-1B folks, you don't need to change the numbers. You don't need to increase the numbers. You simply invert the numbers. 20,000 goes to the bachelor, so the consulting companies still get their numbers, but they get a third less of what they usually get. The American companies that are here in the US will prioritize the brightest or the smartest, with the minimum requirement being a master's degree in CS or electrical engineering or whatever STEM field, to get the best people that want to go. Because what I know for sure, having been through the H-1B myself, is that it is very frustrating to have international students that have come here who want a chance, who decide that, yes, I have to go through a lottery, be edged out by others who were simply brought in by consulting companies and placed in third-party places. But again, like I said, the law allows for it. So that is my argument. Make sure you can balance out everything. So that's why I think people get things wrong. Politicians typically do not understand how this works because they've never been through the process. I have. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. I got the H in 2018 for 3 years. And before that 3 years elapsed, I got a green card. I was lucky enough that a semiconductor company was able to do that for me. So for that, I'm grateful. But there are other people who are currently waiting to just get the H-1B from their, from switching from STEM OPT or STEM, from OPT or STEM OPT to H-1B. And they're waiting because the numbers are dwindling every year. Every single year, the consulting companies get more and more numbers. It's frustrating. In conclusion, I hope this has kind of given you an insight into what the problem is. The H-1B is not going anywhere. I know for sure because it's an act of Congress. I believe strongly that the associate's degree holders from community colleges should be given a shot at entry-level roles at the tech companies who are always hiring. I believe bachelor degree holders should be in the 20K as well. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and see you in the next one. Bye.